Ford computer. And so again, as always, a quick recap as to where we stand and so what the plan is for today. So we spent the first several weeks going over some of the basics of selecting a university. So we talked about the different types of universities, the different rules and conditions universities impose on the application process, early action, early decision, private, public. So hopefully by now you had no problems selecting universities of your fit. And so we talked about all those target and reach and safety, as well as in the United States and outside the United States. Then, so based on our review last week or 2 weeks ago, it seems like the students in the program have a pretty clear idea as to what universities they would like to apply to. Now, then we talked about things like resume, your own, both the document itself, but also what's on the resume and what you can still add to it before it's too late. And I was very happy to see that all students are planning some additional moves, opening clubs, joining clubs, engaging in some activities to make the resume look a little bit more complete. Not just, I went to school, attended all classes, got good grades, and this is me. So very good on that front. We also spent some time talking about recommendation letters, again, a very important topic. And again, based on the review 2 weeks ago, it seems like pretty much everyone has a list of professors or coaches or supervisors that could give their recommendation letter. And so it seems like most of the students even talked to those people and already got the preliminary agreements to receive their recommendation letters, although it looks like some may still need to complete that list. And so as we discussed, you always want to have more names on the list because there will be someone who will be late or who will forget or who will maybe not write a good letter. So you probably want to have, normally it's required to have at least 2, usually 3 or more. So you probably want to have 4 or 5 names on your list just to be sure. And so one topic that we haven't really explored in great depth yet is the application essay. And so we actually had a quick meeting yesterday with the professors here. And so they reiterated how important that essay is. The truth is, and I guess I believe it, so that all students will be similar when it comes to curriculum. So you all took more or less the same courses. Grades, most of you will have good grades. I mean, some will have better GPA than others, but you all have decent grades. Most of you have had some sort of experiences outside the classroom. So there will be some clubs, some businesses, some internships, some whatever else, volunteering, whatever else you did. And so everybody will have a few of those items. And so it seems like and then recommendation letters, everybody will get probably strong recommendation letters. So those, in my opinion, are almost, it's not that they're useless. I mean, sometimes they may say negative things and then they're very informative, but most of the time they're very positive. And so I don't think there will be much difference in recommendation letters. So it's more of an exercise in writing abilities of the recommender rather than, it tells me much about the student. But one area where the differences may be substantial is that essay, right? So that's how you present yourself and those are unique. So what you say is different from what others say. And so it's very important to do it right. And so we had a little discussion yesterday about how to best prepare you for the essay. And so the professors here who went through the process and know a little bit more about it, they said that it's probably going to take us several sessions just to fully explain the topic. And then maybe even a few sessions where we will sort of take a look at one-on-one meetings at your work and then provide feedback. So this is a very important topic. So unlike like adding your transcript or CV to the file or even CV where you sit down and just do it in a few hours, essay will take a lot of polishing. And so we wanted to provide a general overview today just to give you a better idea of what to expect, how it works, maybe take a closer look at what the topics might be and how to select them. But we will come to this topic again, maybe in 2 weeks' time and take a closer look at more details. And so with this long introduction, so let's move on. Let me pass the mic to our presenters and then hear their experience with this important topic.
So thank you, Vas, for doing that. And good morning, everyone. I know Vas is, Dr. Taras is 100% correct when it comes to the essay thing, because that is your differentiating point. More or less, if you think about it, all the other students who are applying to that great college that your dream college happens to be, right? Your target, your reach, those colleges are basically, they'll have the same kind of students. You will have, if you have great grades, the other students will have great grades too. If you will have great SAT or ACT scores, and the other students will have the same thing too. So obviously your differentiating factors definitely comes down to your extracurricular activities, and of course the big essay that you are writing. How much is an impact you are creating through your essay? One thing which I always tell my students when I tell them about college application is to create a brag sheet for yourself. So before you even start writing an essay, at least write the points that you want your reader, the person on the other side to know about you. So that brag sheet becomes very, very important. What have you done in school? What is the extra thing that you really enjoy? What is your passion in life? And all connected to academics, of course. You've done something great. You created a website. You did some business on the website. You created some new company. It's a startup or something. So whatever you have done, just write a brag sheet of yourself, so that when you have those points out there, it's very easy then for you to then transform those points into a full-fledged essay. So that is what will be your differentiating thing. So it's like, having those pointers for yourself, that you will need those pointers when you write your essays, which will be read by the admissions committee. And believe it or not, whatever the others tell you, admissions officers always read your essays. So that is your difference. They may not see your resume, they may not see anything else, but they will read your essay. So that Common App essay and the other college, so obviously the different colleges have their own essay requirements. So all of those are needed for your success to a college application. So they will read it. So don't think that this is something that they won't read and I have everything else in place. No, this is the first thing that they will read. And then they will look at your resume or your scores or something else. So I think it makes sense, as Dr. Taras was saying, to spend some time today to talk about essays. In fact, I'm willing to give my time for you guys. If you think that you have written something and you've gotten stuck somewhere and you don't know how to proceed, I'm sure Dr. Amit Arora and myself, we are available. We will even without any money involved. So I'm going to give this free to you guys, because we've got attached to you this group of ours and we want you all to be successful. So this is a free service. What we are trying to tell you is, if you have written an essay which is there for the early decision or an early action application, please feel free to share your essay with you, because I know how much important that is. So, and I'll let Dr. Amit Arora take over and say a few things. I know Dr. Amit Arora and I, what we have done is we have those Common App essay questions that I got from the website yesterday. And I think we also have Georgetown University questions as well, because our son goes there, right? So Amit, I'll give it to you at this point.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Essays, they will require a significant amount of time. Rest, as both Dr. Taras and Dr. Ansura have been saying, that, you've got your GPA, you've got other measures. Those are all very objective measures, right? So it's easy for the admissions officer to just go through them and look at the threshold, whatever is the requirement for that particular university or school or college, right? This one is very subjective. The essays are very subjective. And you are going to be spending a significant amount of your time just writing those essays, making the first draft, second, third, fourth. Believe me, you'll go up to like 6th or 7th draft before you finally submit it. So make sure that you're spending a lot of time on that, right? What we did was, we have, let me just share my screen with you. So we have picked up those, so every college will have its own requirement. And I think we have discussed this earlier also. One is your Common App, where you'll have a set of maybe 5 or 6 questions, or maybe 7 questions, and you have to pick up one of those prompts and then write your essay on that. Then depending on the university or the school that you're applying to, there will be a specific set of some universities and colleges, they don't require anything else. It's just the Common App essays and that's it, right? But if you go to higher ranking universities, the higher you go, you'll have more specific criteria, right? So you will have, at least one essay devoted to that particular university. Then another layer would be that if you are within that university, if you're applying to a particular school, whether it's the engineering school or the medical school or whatever school, so that school or a business school, so that particular school is going to have another set of prompts for you to answer. So depending on the university, you may have like 3 or 4 essays that you may have to write, or it could be that just one essay and you're done. Right?
Can I ask you a question? So how specific are those additional topics? I looked at the topics in the Common App and they're pretty generic, like almost anything, but those additional ones, are they like school specific or?
Yes, they can be. So they can be university specific and or school specific. So let me share my screen with me. So I have pulled up an example from Georgetown University. Just give me a minute. Okay, so like here we are. So this is an example of a Common App prompt. So they have given us what, seven prompts, and we have to pick just one of them, right? And again, they are so broad-based. I'm pretty sure you'll fit into any one of them. If you don't fit in any of them, the last one, if you have a look at number 7, that is like, share an essay on the topic of your choice, right? So they have made it like it's really open-ended. If you think that the top 6 do not fit you, the 7th one is like, it's your own thing, right? If you, it can be the one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. So
do you think it matters which topic the students choose?
No, it doesn't. I was about to say that. It doesn't matter. Basically, it's your writing skills that matter. And what matters is how much you are talking about your own self. So how much do you fit in any of the essay that you write? How much do you fit that brag sheet of yours in that particular essay? So really that the content of yours will matter. So Amit, can you read each one of them one by one so that the students get an idea?
Yeah, and I think we have a sort of a interactive discussion on each of them, a brief discussion, if that helps the students. So
yeah, but before we do that, Dr. Charis, I'll request your permission on that. So can we get to know which student is applying for which university? And I really need to know if there's an early action or early decision or restrictive action or non-restrictive, because I know Georgetown is a non-restrictive early action, which means if you apply to Georgetown, you can also apply to some other university, which is early action non-restrictive, like MIT, and there are other candidates as well. You cannot apply to Princeton or Columbia if you're applying to this thing, because Princeton is a restrictive early action. So can we get to know what the students are doing at this moment before we even discuss this?
Yes, and students, since there are many of you and each of you is applying to multiple universities, can you please write down the universities that you know for sure you will be applying to in the comments? You can split it into safety, backup, reach, or you can just list them all together. So whatever schools you gave me last time, if you could please type them in the comments. So I remember.
And I'm actually, whilst I'm requesting a different thing, I'm requesting that what is coming up for you right away. I mean, this is early time, right? So the early
which ones?
decision, applications are due in November. So I just want to make sure, that you guys, we are actually on the top of it. So you don't have to give me the full list of your safety, target, and reach. Just tell me your early decision or early action applications that you will be applying this year.
Yeah, sorry. So yes, please do list the schools that you will be applying to that have the application deadline in November for the early action or early decision. So I know Maxim has a couple of those schools, and based on our conversation last time, everyone has at least a couple of those on your lists. So could you please put that in the comments? And I'm not sure why nothing's coming up on the comments. Students are still writing, or they're not sure.
yeah, and don't feel pressured that we all have to aim for Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Just be realistic where you want to be. I mean, we talk about the top ones because we want to aim for the top ones, but that doesn't mean that we all are applying to the top ones only, right? So it can be any university. And depending on the university, then you'll have a specific set of questions, maybe just the Common App, or it could be more. So we can just dig deeper into that.
Yeah, so Fernando says that I'm not sure if I have any that have the early application process. Aiza says that she doesn't have any. Maxim says that October 18 will be the North Carolina free application weekend. So that's what, a week from now? You better hurry, Maxim. And October 18th is Monday, I believe. So I'm not sure if it would be. So
it's Saturday.
What was that, Maxim?
It's Saturday. It's the entire weekend on Common App. I don't, it might be different than Common App, but I can apply to all the in-state universities for free.
Okay, wow, that's great.
October 18 or November 18?
Oh, sorry.
It's October.
Oh, I might have read it wrong. You're right. It is Monday.
And November 18 is a Thursday, so I wonder if,
No, I mean, oh, sorry. It's free college application week, not weekend.
week, okay, yeah, then,
Mhm.
so then October 18 next week is the free application week?
Yeah.
You better than hurry, because we don't have much
Yeah,
time.
then we have to be on the top of it. So Maxim, here's what I'll say to you. If you want to share your essays with us, we'll be more than happy to have a look at your essays, because I think right now from the comments, you are our only student who's applying for early thing. And to Abhishek, I know you said you don't plan to apply early and you're looking for a regular decision, but still I would encourage the students to apply early so that you at least get to know the process.
Yes.
If nothing else, you will have your application, like your ducks in a row, right? At least you'll have all the things that you need for an application packet to apply. At least you'll get the experience to apply. So I would strongly recommend, and you don't lose anything. Remember, in fact, your chances of
Yeah, but I
getting
haven't applied
accepted.
I haven't given the SAT and TOEFL yet.
Okay, but I would just say apply somewhere early for sure. Don't just wait till January, the first week of your regular decisions thing, but rather apply something where you have early decision as well. You don't lose anything. In fact, your chances of getting deferred increases when you apply early. So I would definitely recommend, applying early and getting to the process.
Yeah, one thing that I'm not sure if you understood, the full importance and sort of magnitude of what Dr. Arora just said. So let me rephrase it in a slightly different way. So I don't know how things will be developing in the next several months, in politics, in economy, in, I don't know, world peace, weather. Those things are unpredictable. But there is one thing that I can predict with absolute certainty. No matter what happens, you will be short on time and you will be applying, submitting your application close to the deadline. And when you will be submitting that application, you will wish that you have an extra week. And when you're fully done, you will say, oh man, if only I had another day, I would have done it better. And so one way to minimize that problem, even if you do what we recommend you to do, you will still be late and you will still wish you have a few extra days. But if you try to apply early, you will have that sort of whole process, all that problem, all that, shortage of time early. And when you're done, yes, it will not be perfect, but at least you will be 99% done. And then you have more time until the regular submission to finish all those additional things. Because if you don't go through that early process, I guarantee you for the regular submission, you will be late, you will hurry, you will probably submit something, but you will not be as prepared as you wish you were. And so this early process, even if that's not, something that you maybe not necessarily the school you want to go to, or perhaps you don't believe that you can get in. Well, at least it's a nice rehearsal and get everything done in time, sort of something that prompts you to get everything done in time. So definitely try it no matter what.
And to add to that, remember for early decisions, you're only applying for 1 or 2 colleges, right? But for regular, you will have like 15, 20 applications, if you're really thinking of applying for a regular decision for a lot of colleges. So it's always good to prepare early, so that's the thing. But again, it's your decision. If you want to apply for regular and not early, we understand. But again, we will say that at least show us your essay prompt that you're writing, and we'll be more than happy to have a look at it. So Amit, I would request you to read each one of them if you can. And then we can actually sort of discuss each one of them and then move on to the Georgetown specific ones. How's that?
Yep.
Sure. The very first prompt, some students have background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful that they believe their application will be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So here you're just talking about your strength, something unique that you have, maybe a unique background. So I know some backgrounds could be like a person has been to 3 different high schools, right? So it could be just that this is my background, this is my story. I've been to 3 different and I've adapted to all 3 different environments. My parents have been moving because of the job changes. They have been moving here and there all the time, and I had a difficulty in adjusting, but then I came out to be a better human being. I was able to overcome all those challenges. So some sort of a story that can really bring out what you went through and what you learned from it, and that made you a better and a stronger person, right?
Or maybe lived in multiple countries, right?
Yeah. Or maybe ethnicities, because it talks about your identity. So it does talk about being American and then being, for example, in my case, Asian American or Indian American. So obviously, you can even make a case or a story out of that. Does it help you? Does it not help you? All of those things.
So, I mean, the best thing would be, we look at the prompts, make some bullet points about what can go, and then start expanding on those bullet points. I mean, that's the strategy that I would suggest. Now, everyone would have a different way of doing it. But if I have to write something, I just make some bullet points, what should go, and then you start building from there.
Right.
The second one now. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, a setback, or a failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? So both of the prompts, they are very personal, right? It's something that only I know, and I may have like 5 or 6 different experiences, or maybe I'll have a hard time thinking about any experience at all, right? So you really have to spend time on the essays. That's going to take a significant amount of time. You may have like 2-3 different stories. You expand on all of them, and then finally you say, oh, I think the story number 3 is what I should be really focusing on. So it's always good to take opinion from other people, seek their suggestions. I'm in my mind, maybe, I've got 3 different stories, but then, story number 3 is probably the best one. But if I start talking to other people, maybe, I tell you that, story number 1 is going to be much more worth it. So coming up with all these things, it will take time, but then in a way you'll start discovering yourself too, right? So.
And I would just say, remember, you have to do only one. So it's always good to read all of them and then look at, then figure out which one you like. I like the second one though, because it's talking about a negative turning into a positive, right? So something where you start with a negative experience, your challenge, your setback, your failure, and all of us have encountered failures, right? And then how you turn it around, like maybe your first time public speaking was a failure, but then you worked on it and now your presentation skills are perfect. So think about something which started as a failure for you, but turned out to be good eventually because you spent more time on it. So, all of this, these are all thinking questions. So again, your brag sheet will be needed. Maybe putting pointers for each one of them will be needed. And then, you can then figure out which one you want to do. But second is definitely nice because it's from negative to a positive. So
something like maybe a business idea that went wrong, but taught you a lot. Or maybe some problems with the school rules where you got reprehended and punished, but you learned your lesson, or I don't know, maybe a foreign trip, like an expatriate, well, in your case, I guess, study abroad assignment that was challenging, but looking back was interesting and useful. Or maybe a problem with the X-Culture team that,
Yeah, I was about to say X-Culture itself, right? You may have had this, and that is where you talk about X-Culture. I mean, this is really a great thing where you actually talk about X-Culture Exchange, which is like a global collaboration thing. And then, you did something, you learned from the different cultures, you did something right, you did something wrong, and eventually it turned out to be a great success and you made great friends, right? Yeah, I mean, that project itself is a big story to tell. So, and you can always mention the numbers. I know Dr. Taras would be happy to share the numbers with you, how many people participate from which all parts of the world, and that makes it even huge, right? So yeah, second is good. Yeah, Amit, go ahead, go on to the next one.
Yeah, I think there's someone in the waiting room. It just popped up. Okay. So number 3 is reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or an idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? So again, you're going against the established norms, established beliefs. Maybe it could be in your school, could be in your community, and you challenge something. But again, I mean, not just for the sake of challenging, right? It's got to be backed up with the logic that why did you do that and what was the outcome of it, right? So
this is a very good one. I recently read a book about a woman who escaped. So she was in one of those sort of like very orthodox religious families somewhere in the mountains of Utah. And then she went against the family's sort of, values and decided, you know what, I don't want to be just sort of, what's the word here? Sort of just a member of the cult and somebody's wife. I want to get an education. I want to go the book, by the way, is called Educated. And so she sort of escapes, like questions the whole system of values that she was brought up in, and decides to actually get, a professional career. And so that was an interesting, it's one of the best selling books of the last few years. But yeah, I guess that would be essentially, and not an essay in that case, a book, but a story on this topic.
And I think, yeah, I mean, people who question, whatever the religion or whatever their faith or whatever, and then maybe make a change to that. That's definitely what it is. Yes.
I wonder if it can also include some change in interests. Like, I don't know, maybe you wanted to be an astronomer for a long time, but then one day you take a class in psychology and you realize, oh man, that's a whole different world. And so whatever you were interested in, like, for example, I'm looking at myself. So much of my early education was in economics, like basically, pure economic analysis, numbers, countries, trade, maybe firms, my undergraduate and my master's. But then at some point, I started expressing interest in sort of people's behavior. And for my PhD, I completely changed my orientation and I started looking at people in international context. I'm not sure if it's so much I'm challenging my belief or idea, but sort of I switch from looking at, let's call it the hardware, to looking at software. So from believing that you must have the most, fastest processor, biggest RAM, and so on, so to speak, in economics. No, it's actually about the software. Without the software, you can have the best resources, the best company. So it's probably a little bit far stretched here, but I don't know, maybe like some big change in your interests and goals in life that completely changed your career path, so to speak. So I don't know.
It has to be some bigger change. So you're right. It has to be like a change in your career path or maybe career goals or something. So of course, from economics to business or some, I don't know. But it's actually more talking about a belief or an idea. So one has to be careful when you write this, because this is actually a challenging question itself. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
The next one.
The next one is reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a very surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? So this is now someone came into your life or whatever, it was a chance meeting. And
more like a mentor, right?
Yeah.
It's more focused on a mentor who changed you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be a mentor, or I was even thinking that it could be, a stranger did something. So I know, sometimes in US, there was, everyone was doing it. It started off like one single person who did it. So in a drive-through on a Starbucks coffee or something, you pay for the person who's behind you. And there was a story that, so I got a free coffee, and then why don't I do it for many more people in a homeless community or something like that. So there was one story in the newspaper, that person got interested. So he or she got paid just for a cup of coffee by a total stranger who was in front of her in the car lane. And that prompted her to start off to do something for the homeless people in her own community. So, and that made a big news in the local headlines. So it could be a total stranger in your life did something, right? Or it could be, yes, as Anshu was saying, a mentor who's been there and he has done something for you in a regular way or in a surprising way.
Or it seems like it could be also an event, right? Maybe some sort of either stressful event or an uplifting event that completely made you rethink your,
Yeah.
I remember one of my students, she picked up this essay and she talked about Malala. Malala Yousafzai, the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winners. And she talked about how that just reading about her changed the story for her, because she was the first college, first generation college student. The family did not value college education that much. But then when she read about the story and the powerful girl that Malala is, facing the terrorist and facing, taking the bullet for the name of education. So that really transformed her and wanted her to go to college. So, I mean, things like this, which is like your life-turning events, can also help. So it doesn't, as Amit was saying, it could be a stranger. The first thought that came to me was a mentor, but of course, it could be a complete stranger who impacted you in a positive way. So that could also be there. And maybe, and the more I'm thinking, you can also make it more like any sustainable thing that you do for the environment, right? So you clean up your park or something, you did some community project with a person or, helping the society and really made you happy and thankful in a surprising way. So that could also be something that you can talk. But I mean, just think about it. And again, when you read all of those 7 prompts, you will have something like somewhere you will think, okay, this might be the right one. And I would say I'll strongly recommend having 7 pages and putting your bullet points for each 7 of them and then thinking which one is your better one. So instead of just picking up one randomly or thinking, okay, this is it, I would, if I were you, I'm going to spend time on each of these 7 prompts, pick up, the pointers for them, and then compare which one is better for me, and then pick up the one that's needed for the essay application. But to start the process, think about all 7, because right now it's like a clean slate and there is no right or wrong at this moment. So please remember that it's not that I'm going to pick up number 7, and that will give you more points. No, it's the way you talk. It's the way you narrate your story. That's going to give you points.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Amit, next one.
Yeah, the next number 5. So discuss an accomplishment, event, or a realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So this is something very personal, right up to me. I could think of one example, a personal example. The first time I made a corporate presentation. So I was a trainee at that time, a trainee engineer, and I was actually undergoing training in so I work in the auto industry, and my first 2 years of as a trainee engineer were at a company-owned workshop. So where the customers were coming in, and I was just learning everything what goes on in the shop floor and how to handle customers. So it was a very extensive training period that I had. And what happened was that while I was there, my workshop manager, he resigned, and there was a big dealer event that was coming up. So all the dealers all across India. So I was working in India at Honda. I worked at Honda in the automobile company, and we had this big dealer meet that was coming up. And the company-owned workshop had also to be represented by someone, and the workshop manager had just vanished. He resigned. So I was picked up. I mean, I don't know why I was picked up, but I was told that you are the only graduate engineer. Rest everyone is a diploma holder or whatever. So you are going to represent. And like, I was like, how am I going to do this? So I spent like 2-3 nights just preparing on the presentation, getting all the data from all the different departments in the workshop. And then that was a first presentation I ever made in my life. I was an engineering student, so we didn't really make any presentations while I was at school. We were just doing lab experiments and writing the reports and submitting it. So there was no such presentation thing, no concept of presentation in that engineering school. So I was like thrown into that limelight suddenly, where all these experienced workshop managers who had been in the profession for the last maybe 15 years, 10 years, some 5 years, and I was a trainee engineer. So, but I came out good. So I was praised by the general manager of our organization. So that was like a realization, that was an accomplishment that, yes, doesn't matter if you're a trainee engineer or whether you have 10 years of experience. If you really get into the work, you can get it done, right? So that was a period of personal growth for me. So that was, I mean, if I had to pick up, probably I'll just pick up this one and just start expanding on that. So maybe something sparked in your life, right? Some accomplishment or some turning point, not maybe a turning point, but some sort of an event that really, which really taught you a lot. And that was a period of personal growth for you, right? So think of some such things which you can really write about, and something that you're really proud of, and that you can just share that story with the admission counselors, the admission office.
This is a very good, yeah, that's a very, very good example. I think that would be.
And I'd like to add here something, that it could be something like a serendipity, like something where, you are still undecided, right? A lot of people, a lot of college students will be applying for colleges, they will be undecided. But if you can come up with some storyline which says, no, I want to do computer science, or I want to do business, or I want to do some other major, And the reason of doing that is because I had this great realization one day or whatever, as a series of events, which made me which has brought me to the realization that I want to do the major in electrical engineering or only in this particular field. So that's where you can make a story too. But obviously there has to be some connected events in the past. Maybe you started a business. If you are looking for a business major, maybe you started a startup company. It was a failure to begin with, but then you invested more time, you understood the skills, you mastered the skills, and now the company is making some profit for you. So that is where the realization, the accomplishment came in. And now there's a serendipity because suddenly now you know that from this particular field, you want to go for business. I would like to have a business as a major. So remember, not many students will be talking about a major at this point in time. So and I know Araman talked about the major in computer science, and his essay was clean and clear because it was all focusing on computer science for him. Like he didn't, and plus languages. So obviously he knew that he wanted to do something in the field of computer science and linguistics, like something that's called computational linguistics. So he was very clear right from the beginning. And if I look at his essays, and I will definitely have Araman as a guest for the next class, and he will be sharing his essays with you. But his essay is very clean and clear. It's only talking about computer science. Everything that he has done in life is all connected to that. So if you can make that connection, it just shows how clean and clear your thinking is. I mean, it's okay to be undecided at this point in time, and that's fine too. But if you have made a decision that you want to do, let's say electrical engineering, like I'm an electrical engineer, and at that time I knew I wanted to do this, right? So if you have that particular realization on you, then think about why. So maybe going back, backtracking, and then figuring out what was it that made you want to do this particular field. Was it your love for the field? What was it, something that you did in this field that made you want to do it so badly? So that may be a good point to start with. So not just talking about an event, but maybe talking about your major. So again, remember your black sheet will really help you. Why do you want to major in that particular field? Again, not needed if you are undecided, but if you're 100% decided, then definitely go for it. Talk about your major.
Yeah, that's a very good example.
So the next one is describe a topic, an idea or a concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more?
This was Araman's question, by the way. So this is what he attempted.
Very good one, yeah. I think that's the
what
one that will probably show your, how should I put it? I'm looking at those first questions, and I can imagine that there will be a lot of people, like for example, for the first one, background identity, there will be a lot of people who will be talking about their cultural heritage or racial identity. For the second one, there will be a lot of stories. Oh, I was so struggling and then somebody helped me. Like they will be typical. Number 6, you can connect that so much to your major. Like again, if you wanted to be, let's say, a computer scientist, you probably can talk about how coding, makes you lose track of time, and you sit the whole day and maybe all the way through the night. I think that may be the most powerful, way to send the message that this topic, this major, this university is for you.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where you can tie your major, and you can always say that this is something that you love doing. If it's architecture, then you can say I make pieces of art and pieces of things. Like I could see my youngest son getting into that field, so I know for him it will be all about architecture. But yeah, I mean, this is something where if you are 100% decided, go for number 6. Like if you know that this is your major, then you should now talk about your major, because in Araman's case, he talked about computer science and he talked about spending time on coding and then doing stuff for his, he was a founder. Club. What was the club, Amit? I forgot the name of the club. The club that he started.
The math club.
The math club, and even the computer club, the computer science club, right? So, and then he won the competitions. So sort of he had a story to tell, and he had an evidence to give that this is what I did by achieving this. So if he spent hours and hours and he lost track of time, eventually he got the awards and he was winning something, and that even strengthened his interest more into that particular field. And what or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? I mean, you can talk about experts, you can talk about books, you can talk about, there are things which are available on the web, but you should know exactly where to go to. So again, this is a great question to attempt for sure.
Yeah. And if you the last one, that's like, if you don't like any of those top 6 ones, then share an essay or any of your own choice, right? So it could be the one that you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. So this one can be like tricky, right? So,
but I could see creative people doing it. I mean, people who are creative and who really want to express their own mind and thinking. I could see them doing it, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This can go like either way, you know. It could be, you know, if the admission person is looking at it and say, oh, this guy didn't have anything, so now you're picking up number 7. But then if the person starts reading and it's really something really, really interesting and engaging, then it can really turn around the whole story. So a little bit of risk involved in number 7. Top 6 are, you know, you stick to the script, right? So you're just playing it safe. Number 7, if you've got something really engaging, then, you know, you can take that risk and go in for number 7. If you feel that, yeah, this could be my winning thing. So
think about Greta, right? You all know Greta, right? So
Yes.
Greta, if she has to pick up a question, I'm sure she's going to go for number 7 and she'll talk about climate change. So if there's some passion that you have and some issue that's close to your heart, I would say number 7 is a good choice too. It's just that whatever you do, bring it all together and get it yourself. Like put your thing in the main thing. So if Greta will be talking about climate change, I know she will talk about her own things too, whatever she has done to achieve that. So it's the same thing for you guys. If you're talking about a topic of your passion, of your choice, then make sure that you say, why are you so concerned about it? And what have you done to improve it? So I think 7 is a great creative essay. And I'm sure the creative minds are doing that, because none of the other essays talk about sustainability or climate change or anything that the world needs today, the compassion, you know, the Afghanistan crisis or the crisis all over the world, right? Or maybe the COVID, you know, and the impact of COVID on economy or the jobs or the future, or even the generation, you guys. I mean, we all talk about impact of COVID on jobs, but no one talks about impact of COVID on the kids, right? What does the new generation think about it? Like, is it good? Is it bad? So those kind of things. If you think you're that creative and you can create your own essay and bring yourself into the limelight, then I think number 7 is a prompt for you. So I think we've covered all 7. So how about going to the Georgetown Prom Summit?
yeah, then we have specific, and then we also have college specific within the university, right? So
Can you just give some examples of those?
yeah,
We do
And
have.
that's
one
in addition,
is-
right? So it's not a choice between the generic and the college specific. It would be 2 different essays, essentially, right?
Yes. So you have to write Common App anyways, and then each college offers their own set of questions that you have to answer. In Georgetown case, it's all 3 of them that they have to answer for Georgetown College.
Yeah.
But I know for the School of Foreign Service, they have a different set of questions. Then the School of Law, there's a different set of questions. Then their medicine, that's different set of questions. So this one is the one that Armin picked up for his college for the computer science. And this is the recent one. This is the one that you will have in your 2021 application.
Yeah, so here you have to, there's no choice. You have to do all of them, all 3 of them. So that's why they've really specified the length, you know, 250 words or half a page, approximately 1 page for all 3 of them.
And these are relatively short from what I see, right?
Yes.
How long are the generic ones are expected to be, like the 7 ones that we looked at? Are we talking about like a page or 10 pages or?
No, Armin had just 1 page. So it's always a 1 page. I don't think so you have more space over there.
Oh, so it's relatively short. So even
Yes, it should
the
be
generic
short, yeah.
essay, it's not a full-scale essay. It's more like a, interesting.
You can
Okay.
have paragraphs in there. So I know in his case, he had like 5 paragraphs, but they were all in about a page. Yeah, 1 page, 1 full page.
Yeah, for some reason I thought they would be much bigger, much, longer.
No, it was single space Times New Roman, 1 full page. That's what he used.
Interesting. Okay.
So Amit, can you talk
Yeah,
about
so
these?
in this one now, the Georgetown specific one, all 3 are mandatory. You have to attempt all of them. And so the very first one, indicate any special talents or skills you possess. Right. So it's 250 words. Totally your personal thing. Any special talents or any special skills that you possess. Right. Number 2 is briefly discuss the significance to you of the school or summer activity in which you have been most involved. And this they are looking at just half a page, single spaced. Right. And the third one, as Georgetown is a diverse community and most of the college campuses are diverse community, the admissions committee would like to know more about you in your own words. Please submit a brief essay, either personal or creative, which you feel best describes you. And this is 1 page, right? So they are like number 1 and 3 are like, they are like connected with each other, right? So 1 is your special talents or skills, and number 3 is something about you, what you feel best describes you, right? So, so here you'll really have to spend time, right? You'll have to come up with some bullet points. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And again, weaknesses should not be just given away as weaknesses. Weaknesses should be something that is like, it should be portrayed as a strength, right?
You want to present them in a way that they look too positive.
Yes.
As I always joke, so what are your weaknesses? Well, I aim too high, I care too much, I work too hard, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Yeah. So
So they
something
should be
that
shown as a
gives you in a
positive.
positive light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
So yeah,
This
that
is all about
makes
you,
sense.
actually. This
Yeah.
3 questions are completely capturing what you have, your skills, your talents, what best describes you. Like, again, your strengths, basically, you're building on that. So I think it's all about, the good thing is it's all, it's short essays, but sometimes short essays take longer because, you have to put the right words in there. So.
Yeah. So like the second one is talking about any school activity or a summer activity in which you were most involved, and why was it significant for you, right? So maybe you went on a summer camp or something, and you really learned something about life, or maybe about survival, or whatever, right? So that's these 3 are like totally personal, right? Your personal experiences, your personal.
Amit, a question for you, and I'm forgetting that. I know when Araman was doing number 3, he talked about he actually went on the Georgetown University's website, and he looked at the mission, vision, the skill, the value sets for the university, and then he sort of tied his thing. So can you just elaborate that, because I'm forgetting that? Do you remember what he did?
Yeah, so one very, a good piece of advice from all of us would be that whatever college you're applying to, and whatever the essay for that particular college that you're writing, make sure you go on their website and look at the mission and vision of that college or university, right? And whatever responses you are writing, they should somehow tie with the mission and vision of the university.
So
right.
From your experience, would you say that those missions are substantially different from university to university?
Yes, they are. I know, and because I know he talked about Jesuit values of Georgetown. Even though we're not Jews or anything, but what did he write? Because I remember that part. He discussed that with us.
Yeah. I faintly remember. That's what as collectively we were all on the Georgetown's web. And he tried to just connect his experiences with the values of the university, right? So that gives an instant connection in the mind of the admissions officer that, hey, this person has actually, he's gone on the website and looked at the different colleges, and he's looked at the mission and vision at a higher level, right? And he's trying to connect his or her personal experiences with the values of the university. So that's going to give a positive impression to the admission person, or the person who's reading your essay, right? Definitely, highly recommend it. You should know everything about the university, especially if that's the one that you really want to get into. Then you should be looking at the entire website, looking at if you are applying for a specific major, you should be going and finding out information about that major from the website. If you've really gone for a college visit physically to the campus, that should be mentioned that, I went there and I saw this and this really encouraged me to apply, or because of this reason, because I have these strengths, and this is what I can do for the university. That's very, very important, right? So everyone wants to get into a university, and they always talk about the university will help me in achieving my goals, that. But as a person, as a candidate, what is my strength that I bring to the table that can add value to the program and to that to the particular university,
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, what would be the examples of this? I mean, it sounds like a very important component. How can I contribute to the community? So, what would be examples of good answers to that component?
So some examples could be like in Ariman's case, he said that I started a math club in my school.
Yeah, and I'll do the same.
Yeah, so I've looked at the university. The university is lacking in one club or whatever in the computer science. They have a computer science club, but it does not focus on this particular aspect. So I have my skills and I'm going to bring those skills and I'm going to expand the horizons of the university and get into all that, right? So something that I can offer, right? We all talk about what the university is going to offer to me, but then as a person, what can I offer to the university? And that could be the tilting
That's
point.
a very good one, yeah.
Winning point. So,
maybe like, as you said, so some sort of a club is missing or activity is missing and you can launch it once you're on campus. So
yeah,
that's a good one.
That'll be great, right? So, so this is now specific to just the Georgetown University. And then in the next slide is something specific to the school that you're applying to within the university. And every school has their own question. So let me go on to that one. Okay, so this is for each of the colleges. So there are 4 different colleges at Georgetown University. You've got the Georgetown Arts and Science College, then you have the School of Nursing, you have the School of Foreign Service, and you've got the School of Business, right? So each one has a separate prompt. So if you're applying to, let's say, the Georgetown College, the Arts and Science, then it's what does it mean to you to be educated? How might Georgetown College help you achieve this aim? Applicants to the sciences and mathematics or the Faculty of Languages and Linguistics should address their chosen course of study. Right. So here, what can Georgetown offer to you to help achieve your aim? Right. So this is what the university can do for you. So definitely, you will have to look at the website. What are the strengths of the university, of the strengths of that particular program? Maybe it's the largest program in the country. Like University of Maryland, their computer science program is the largest in the country. And they have a list of, what all strengths they have. So you will have to look at the website of the university of that particular college and then pick up some points and then connect it to how the university, that particular point can help you achieve what you want to be, right? You want to be educated, you want to be trained in a particular skill set. How will the university help you do that, right? So you will have to look at the website for sure. Then let me pick up the School of Business, the last one, right? So McDonough School of Business is a national and global leader in providing graduates with essential ethical, analytical, financial, and global perspectives. Please discuss your motivations for studying business at Georgetown. What has prompted you to come to Georgetown? Why do you want to study business only at Georgetown University, not to some? So this is going to be like specific for each university, right? Many of the universities will ask this question. So you'll have to tailor make it for each university, right? Some other prompts that you've seen, maybe, you have one and then you can just tweak it and send it to another university. But this one is specific to this university itself, right? So why do you want to study business at Georgetown? What will again, it's a good idea that Georgetown will offer, the School of Business is going to offer me this, and I will offer XYZ to the College of Business, to the School of Business at Georgetown, or to whatever university, right? So
now, can I ask you where you find these questions? So the generic 7 Common App questions, I assume they are once you log in into your Common App account. Where do these specific questions come from?
So when you apply to the individual university is when, as soon as you click on the application button for the university, automatically these questions will populate. So these questions will come in immediately. So as soon as a student applies, let's say for Princeton or for Harvard or even MIT or Georgetown or Johns Hopkins, these questions are going to come up. Somehow I was able to find the questions of Duke University from the last year. And I think I have response for Parliament to one of those questions as well. So maybe I can share that right away.
okay.
Yeah, let me share my screen. It says, okay. All right, so these were the two questions for Duke University that Armin wrote last year. I don't expect much changes to this question. This is basically for Pratt School of Engineering. So one of the question was, if you're applying to Pratt School of Engineering as a first-year applicant, please discuss why you want to study engineering and why you would like to study at Duke. So two things, why Duke and why engineering? Please limit your response to no more than 250 words. So this is a very specific question. More or less, every university is going to ask you something similar. Why why this university and why this particular program? So here they were very specific. Duke, the Pratt School of Engineering is supposed to be their flagship. So they are very, very specific as to why you're picking up Pratt and not a Duke college or the normal liberal arts college that Duke has. The second question is where Duke University seeks a talented, engaged student body that embodies the wide range of human experience. We believe that the diversity of our students makes our community stronger. So they're talking about diversity, right? If you would like to share a perspective you bring or experiences you've had to help us understand you better, perhaps relate to a community you belong to or your family or cultural background, we encourage you to do so. So they're saying, talk about your family, your culture, your community. Real people are reading your application, and we want to do our best to understand and appreciate the real people applying to Duke. So they're saying it's not read by any bots. No computer is reading it. It's the real people reading your application. 250 word limit. This is the Duke University. So I think I was able to see his response. So this is his response, and I know it's a little plagiarism because I'm talking about his response that he wrote for the last time, but since he's already done it and he's already gotten into the university, I think I can do that. So this was his response. He said, I come from an Indian background, but my world is American. The smog and the bustle, the inventive spirit of New Delhi flows in my veins and lies on my shoulder, while the American ideals of individuality and entrepreneurialism have been readily adopted into my mishmash identity. My tenderest link to India has been through my family and the values that they have passed on to me, but it is America that has birthed my dreams. Curiosity was inculcated in me by my mother. So obviously he's talking about me. Whether she was teaching me long division in elementary school or helping me with tricky integral in the 10th grade. My Indian heritage has bestowed me the tradition of skepticism and the love of argument, passing on the persona of argumentative Indian, an economist and Nobel laureate Amartya Sen has termed it. The curiosity has enabled me to find my niche in my varied worlds. Whether it was programming a Raspberry Pi computer in Georgia, going to math competitions around Pennsylvania, and presenting my own legislation at a youth and government conference in DC, all have been expressions of my versatility. My dream is to solve the unsolvable and contribute to humanity's repository of knowledge through my ingrained and derived values of collectivism and entrepreneurship. My research interest in the puzzles of computer science and computational linguistics are the beginnings of the paths along which the stream takes me. So this was his complete answer. And obviously it's making me a little emotional because he did talk about me. But he's talking about his family, he's talking about his culture, he's talking about America, and he's talking about computer science. And all of that matters. So I just thought I'll share this. I know.
That's a very good and very powerful statement. Short, to the point. And the fact that it's short, it kind of makes it almost more difficult. I think it was Mark Twain who said, sorry, my letter is so long, I didn't have time to write it shorter. So you kind of have to condense everything into a couple of paragraphs. You cannot just go on and on and on as you would in a book. So you have to compress all the main ideas into a couple of sentences, essentially.
Right. Yeah. And the fact, and he wrote this like in a long period of time. So it's not something that came like in a day. So that's the reason we're like actually telling.
Versions. So, the 6th iteration, the 10th iteration, and then you finally say, okay, now this is the best one. So it's going to take a significant amount of time. So start with those bullet points, start expanding on that, put in some emotional stuff. And it should all come from within, right? So no one can really write this for you. You'll have to come. We can all help you, craft that, okay, this should go first and then you should talk about this. But then the original story idea, that whole experience that you're going to talk about, that's going to come from you, right? So that's very, very important that you spend time and start working on it like now. You should be doing it.
The sooner the better. Yeah. So even though you're looking for regular application, I would say start writing on it right away.
Yeah.
So any questions from our group? I mean, I know the good thing is it's all recorded, so you can all look at the recording and see what Hariman has written and what kind of questions were there. But again, any questions from anyone? Maxim, Abhishek, Isa, Fernando?
While they're thinking
I
about the
had a
questions, they're
question.
probably, oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's not
Ahmed?
specifically about the essays, but I was looking at like what's the required documents for like when you're sending in an application, and there are these FAFSA forms for the federal student aid. So I was just wondering, like, do you guys have any extra details about that? Like, is it required to fill out like I know it's typically like aid for the lower income families. Like realistically, like should I fill it out if I like don't particularly like see that it would probably benefit like my demographic the most? Like, is it like required? Like, would it help or it even like I guess I just don't know too much about it.
Yeah, Maxim, I would say just fill it, definitely.
Yes.
Because you don't know what the criteria of financial aid is, right? So if you go to the website of many of the colleges, they'll say that 90% of the students receive some sort of financial aid. Now, depending on the income level of your family, you may receive a little bit, maybe more. We don't know, right? So it's always, you should just fill it up, because let them take the decision what your family situation is and how much pool of money they have to offer scholarships. You may get a little amount, but then if you don't fill it up, you're just leaving it on the table, right? So definitely fill up the FAFSA for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let them decide if you're eligible or you're not eligible.
Yes, I think Ahmed also has a question. So
Ahmed, did you raise your hand or?
yeah, he did raise his hand.
I was wondering if there's a possibility to have like some feedback about my essay, and like how do I reach out if that's possible?
So Ahmed, this is where we started this discussion. I guess you joined us late. So we were like talking to everyone and asking them to share the essays. So you are more than welcome to share the essay with Dr. Taras. You have his email, and he will share the essay with two of us as well. So three of us, you'll have three different set of eyes looking at your essay or application, and we'll be more than happy to tweak it and to give you suggestions.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
And one thing about the FAFSA, the financial aid stuff. So they ask a lot of documents, the tax returns and everything. So you will probably need some time to gather all those documents also. Like they go really detailed, right? The family income and how many of you are earning in the family and your tax past 2 years tax returns and all of that. So that will take time to collect all the documents. So start working on that too.
And Maxim, it's always good to apply for financial aid. As Amit was saying, you never know how much deep pockets
Yeah,
they have,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, yeah, is there
Yeah.
like publicly like I just couldn't find any other information like more detailed online. So I guess you're saying that the best thing is just to apply and
Just
then
apply
they'll
and
tell
give
you. Mhm.
and get your parents involved. I mean, this is where we actually helped Ariman. So we told him, go just write your essay, and we will take care of your FAFSA or your financial aid deadlines and everything. So there's a deadline for FAFSA, right? And that'll be a little
Yeah, I
later than
think so,
your
yeah.
So that's
That's
fine. I mean,
later.
do it. Yeah, just late.
Mhm.
Because I know when Ariman got into Duke, he got more financial aid from Duke than even from Georgetown. Obviously, he picked up Georgetown, but Duke offers a good amount of financial aid. So you never know which university offers what kind of the thing. So
Yeah. And I
it's
mean, if
always
they really
advisable.
like you, if they look at your essays and they really like you, maybe your family's income is like high and maybe they can afford it, but then
I don't know how he sees our income, but
But
up until
what is
a few months ago,
I
I
was
had two
just
students in the family, so and one
I
income
was under
source.
the impression though that FAFSA is separate from scholarships, right? Like, or if you
It
get a
is, it is.
scholarship,
It's
would it be
separate
through
from
FAFSA?
scholarships. And many of the Ivy Leagues will not even consider scholarships. They don't even give merit scholarships. But FAFSA is something that applies everywhere. So Duke doesn't have, I think Duke has something like a scholarship, but that's a different thing. But what Armin received was financial aid. And I was so surprised, everything remaining constant, me or Dr. Arora's salaries or whatever, he got more financial aid than from Duke than from anywhere else, wherever he applied. So you
So
never
it could
know which
just be like
university.
even different for the schools.
it's
Say it
different.
again.
So
Say it
it could
again.
even be different for different schools,
Yes,
different amounts of.
It is. Absolutely. It is different from different schools, and every school will need a FAFSA application to be filled up. So get your parents
Mhm.
involved. You let them do this, and you do the hard job of writing your essays. That's most important right now. But yeah, I mean, you should be filling FAFSA for everything. Doesn't matter. It doesn't what the background or whatever this thing is, because all the other students applying are more or less of your background only. So, you know, so yes.
Good to know. Good to know. One maybe quick comment before we close the session. Plagiarism, do not plagiarize. I imagine it's probably checked automatically. So if you find a good essay online, do not copy and paste. There is probably no harm in looking for examples and maybe sort of trying to learn how they made it so good and then maybe emulating those ideas and approaches, but definitely don't plagiarize. And then one question I have, again, my answer would be probably not worth it, but I wonder what you have to say. Hired help. So I know there are a lot of services that sort of offer you to write the essay for you. Do you think it's worth it? It seems to me that it needs to be expression of you, individuality. Like, I don't think maybe copy editing after you've written it, somebody looks at it more like from the grammatics, you know, like the grammar point of view. But I don't know. I mean, what's your opinion here? Is it worthwhile to hire some help or not?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's something where your own professors, your teachers, we as your mentors for this particular program, we can help you with that, especially with the copy editing part. But the real expression comes from within. So whatever Ariman wrote and whatever example that I gave you today, this is his own individuality. This is not something of my words or Dr. Amit Arora's words. These are completely his thing and what he felt about the essay. What we helped him with was copy editing part of it. So maybe, you know, he was writing something a little longer. We like, just cut short this, you know, you have to have that 250 word limit. So don't go beyond that limit. So that's where we were helping him more than, you know, writing words for him or writing an essay for him, because this is something which you guys should do from your own experience. I mean, it's something that comes from heart and reaches the heart. That's how it is. I don't know if Dr. Amit Arora has something else, but I would not recommend spending time or money on any of those services. As Dr. Taras was also saying, if you copy and paste from anywhere, you will be caught. I mean, obviously, you know, it's something which is there, and they have a plagiarism software running all the time. And all these college applications, they receive like 50,000, 100,000 applications at big colleges, right? So I would advise using your own words, get ideas. Yes, you like, you know, you read a book, you get an idea. That's great. But then when it comes to your own writing, it should be your own self-expression. It should be your own writing, your own words, your own verbiage. We as your mentors can really help you with, you know, with critiquing it, maybe making it better, maybe sounding like a copy editing. But obviously, those would be still your words. Amit, do you have something else to say?
I mean, let's say the English writing skills are not, you feel that they're not good, right? So then maybe, yeah, you can ask for outside help, but then remember those bullet points, your story, that's going to come from you. And then maybe, you know, if you feel that, you know, my writing skills are not good at all, it's not my first language, so I really need someone who can really craft it out for me. Yeah, that's fine. But then again, the meat of that whole story is going to come from you, right? So that should not be from any other source. That should not be someone else's story that you are trying to project as your own, right? So, yeah. And I mean,
yeah, so very interesting, very informative. I think we're pretty much out of time. So let's stop here. But at least for me, I see a lot of interesting insights and things to work on and think on. And then, yes, as a reminder, so many schools apparently open the applications literally a week from now. And so you don't want to miss that. So you want to be prepared. So I encourage you not to procrastinate any longer and go ahead and, you know, finalize your applications. Well, thank you so much. Let's stop here. So we'll return to the topic of the essay later on again. But for now, I think you've got your marching orders. And
there is a question, Vas.
There's a question?
Fernando, what is your question?
Is there a
Fernando?
question?
Yeah, he said, I have a question. I don't know. I don't see the question after that.
Yeah, there was a question from Fernando about Xculture, so I saw that. And Fernando, yes, it may not be too late now, but do send me an email right away, because in your question, you said that you may have sent it to your own email address. So we probably will be able to work it out. And I think we did actually, but yeah, it almost sounds like something didn't work through. So I'll look into it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
All the best, everyone, for your college essays. And you can always reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to look at it, especially if it's an early decision thing. Yes, we will be happy to look at it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
And yes, my email, v_taras@uncg.edu, or just type my name. I think the first link will contain my contacts. So yeah, in Google. Mhm.